There have been a lot of father-son teams throughout history and politics, of course, but none quite like Ron and Rand Paul. Theirs is a movement unlike any other, and watching them both on the trail, it's clear there's a lot of grooming going on.
It's not unusual for candidates' children to hit the campaign trail.
Please welcome my father, Ron Paul.
But when Rand Paul stumps for his father, it's different.
There's only one candidate who's never been accused of flip-flopping.
He's not only the senator from Kentucky and a Tea Party darling.
I got started running as part of the Tea Party movement in 2010 because I was unhappy with Republicans. The Republican Party is an empty vessel unless we imbue it with values.
Rand Paul is also heir apparent to this libertarian anti-interventionist movement his 76-year-old father spent decades building up.
There's no doubt that Rand Paul is going to run for president, and he's going to run on the Republican side of things someday. The question is not if, it's when.
Looks like we've got some young people here. There's energy.
A newcomer to politics himself, Rand Paul rocked the GOP in 2010 by running against the Republican establishment's candidate and winning.
I have a message. We've come to take our government back.
Like his father, Rand Paul is unbending in his beliefs, even when it irks his own party. In May, he sought out CNN to rail against the Senate GOP leadership for trying to prevent a vote on one of his amendments to the Patriot Act.
They're sending out around information to try to convince other Republicans to vote against my amendments.
As you know, this is unusual around here for a Republican freshman senator to come on and really lash out at his own leadership. Why are you doing that?
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that they don't want to allow debate.
And just this week, he made headlines back home for giving $500,000 of his Senate office budget back to the Treasury. At that press conference, he didn't rule out agreeing to be the GOP nominee's running mate, if asked.
I am interested in trying to shape the direction and make our country more fiscally conservative, and we'll have to see where it goes. Right now, I'm still supporting that guy from Texas.
As for Ron Paul, strategists say there's one main reason he all but rules out a third-party run.
But I have no intention of doing that, no plans and no desire, and flat out I don't want to.
It would harm his son Rand's political future.
That would completely close the door on Rand Paul ever receiving or ever doing very well in the Republican nomination.
Now, the reason for that, any Ron Paul run as a third-party candidate would likely take significant votes from the Republican nominee, potentially enough to help re-elect Barack Obama, and making anyone with the last name Paul a pariah in the GOP. In any event, Wolf, as much as Ron Paul has done to promote the cause of libertarianism, which of course he has, especially in this election, people watch Rand and they say that he's been watching his father. He has learned from his mistakes, and he's a more vivacious and savvy politician. Maybe he could even do more for that cause than his father.
His father is doing well in this new poll in South Carolina, but why isn't he out there campaigning?
It's very interesting. The answer is we don't know. He went home right after he did just one rally in South Carolina the day after New Hampshire, and he's taking a rest, they say. But he's not going to be back on the trail I think he'll be off the trail for about 3.5 days. Someone like Ron Paul, they're really interesting. Another example of how he's different from everybody else. He has such a following and such an internet presence, he doesn't need to go shake hands the way other candidates do to get votes.